Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So just when you think you are done with All Engines Go reviews, every now and then there is a surprise. So I found at, I wouldn't say my local toy mate, but a toy mate that's about 25 minutes drive from my place, on special this pack, which I have had my eyes on for some time. It's the Greatest Race multi-pack, and you can see its age from the fact that we're talking about, you know, we've got metal engines, it's not metal collections. It's got a very interesting pattern on the back, and it's also got some very interesting, unique prints for these characters, as well as Diesel, interestingly enough. So, what are you waiting for? Let's take a quick look at this one now. Let's do it. Here, we'll take a quick look at the packaging. Again, as I identified in the intro, this is an older set. It's, I think, in relation to the Race for Sodor Cup, which was the first, I think, All Engines Go special, which unfortunately I have not seen, so I don't know any context about any of this, but it's got the old push long branding as well as the metal engines. You can see Sodor Cup races, 9 friends, Sodor Cup trophy. And we said we turn it around, it's very interesting on the back. We've got some of the characters, but not all of them. We do have a list of characters here. Lots of different languages as per usual. All the boring stuff here. Again, we've got the fun barcode on this one, but why we don't have it on other products, I still don't understand. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to see from the packaging. But at least it has a name for the pack, unlike the new construction crew set. So let's crack this one open and take a look. Right, so we've got all the engines here out of the packaging, and I think what makes this set a little bit unusual is that unlike a lot of other sets, there's a lot of ordinary characters packed in. So the Kana, Percy, Thomas, and Hero, who are in this set, are all just re-releases of their standard versions of their releases. So I'm not going to take another look at them. You can go back and check out my All Engines Go playlist to see the reviews of those engines individually. I think that's a weird choice, but I understand that because this was released at the beginning of the franchise, they kind of wanted to maybe make it easier for people to get these more classic characters into circulation. But what is unusual is that we do get a special Diesel, and that's the first one I want to talk about here. So this is a racing Diesel, and I understand a similar variant was released in the motorized range. But yeah, you can see here, he's a very vibrant little engine. He's got the yellow replacing the usual black. He also actually got the buffer printing on this one. Like, you actually got black printed buffers, for example, compared to the rainbow one. You can see here where it's inverted. That's how they kind of paint the buffers, but this time they're properly painted. Quite like the yellow. The face is wild though. His nose looks massive when it's like this, but also he's just so like with exactly that sound effect. It does remind me of the one that we saw here that I kind of made a bit of fun of with the rainbow Diesel, and I think this one is quite similar. It's very, yeah, it's a lot. It's very un-Diesel, if we're being honest. But yeah, so interesting to see that. We also get this little Sodor cup. As I said, I haven't seen the film, so I don't know if this is accurate. But it has that little connection point underneath it, so you can connect it to rolling stock. And from memory, I think the racing Diesel comes with this, although it might not have that little one printing on it. The more interesting part of this set is the unique characters, which are unique, as I understand it, pretty much to the Race for Sodor Cup movie, but also to this set. So there's Riff and Jiff, and I don't know which one of those is which. Someone in the audience will know. And there's Verona and Federico, who are these two. I think this one is Verona and this one's Federico. They are the same molds, but they do have slightly different designs. So we'll take a look at them now. You can see here we've got I think quite a nice face design there. These are freelance designs as far as I understand it. They're not based on real engines. You've got a little light here. They're giving, they're very Chuggington, I think. It's kind of what I found quite interesting. They're very, very Chuggington. He's kind of giving, this is giving super chugger energy. So you can see we've got that pattern designing there. Is there some story reason why these are the same? Someone in the comments will know. I quite like how they look, to be honest. I love the way we got the front section cut out here to show the bit more of the wheels. The other ones are kind of hidden away. Going around to the back, it's kind of a bit, reminds me of how kind of looks from the back, actually. Just a bit of a comparison with the light here with these little racing things on top. Yeah, think that she's an interesting engine. Again, very heavy. So one thing about these bigger engines is that, like, because this whole, say, yellow part is die cast, it's a very hefty engine. You wouldn't want to have that thrown in your face. And oh, look, we've got Verona actually written on the bottom. So a cheat sheet for me in this review, which is fantastic. And then you can see here then that, yeah, so I thought this is Federico, and you can see that his colors are essentially inverted. So it is exactly the same molding. And interestingly, I think it's actually the same face too. Yeah, it looks like it's the same face, but the eye color is different, and then the eyebrow detail is different. But, like, you know, the expression, I think, is pretty much the same, which is quite interesting. And again, for similar reasons, I think, you know, it's fine. I had a look at the photos from the show, and he looks relatively accurate, if perhaps a little small. But, you know, that's okay. But, yeah, very, very funky looking engines. They're like kind of, yeah, very Chuggington. They're very Chuggington, and I think it's interesting that these are one of the few characters, even in All Engines Go, which are totally fake engines, whereas all the other engines, you know, there's a real engine underneath. And I think you can kind of tell that they feel very alien, and that's part of why, on the one hand, I didn't pick these up sooner, but also why I wanted to get them into my collection before they disappeared off the shelves, because they're really a product of the All Engines Go time, in that they just look like something that just is just not Thomas and Friends. And then we come to who this one. So this is Jiff. And these ones are quite interesting. You can see we've got this big window here. This one I can think it's giving more... it would be less weird. So if we pretend that this was a window instead of a face, you can see how this could be some kind of electric rail car situation thing. But yeah, very interesting design. I quite like the coloring. I like this minty color with the two-tone red. Again, we've got the wheels on the bottom, pantographs on the top. Similar thing on the back here. It is quite interesting how much effort they've gone to and went to in molding all the details of these. Like, compared to the level of detail that was on the previous push along range at the very end of the CGI era, there's just so much more intricate detail. Like, you got all this little detailing in here, and it's all printed. Yeah, so I think this is really weird looking. I definitely prefer these ones, but, you know, it's funky. And then we have this one's Riff, and he looks kind of like I think it's a he. I actually don't know. Could be a she. It's Burger King or something, or McDonald's is what he looks like, with the yellow and, again, that two-tone red. The red is the same on both of them, and then it's just this highlight color which changes. Again, a funny little face. Funky little printing. Is it the same? Yep, it's same printing. It's just the colors have changed. Yeah, very interesting. The other interesting thing is they've adopted the Kana approach of not giving them front couplings, which, again, I think is accurate. I don't love it for play, but, again, if it's accurate to the show, it's accurate to the show. So, yeah, these are funny, weird little engines. They're, I said, quite unique, but you really feel, even in the All Engines Go world, which is not at all accurate, this is clearly a train. This is something else. You know, I really think, and, you know, Hero's another good example, because he actually looks quite, you know, quote-unquote normal looking. And you put them side by side, and you can really get a sense of just how weird these characters are. I mean, and this leads me very well into the point, the last point I'll make about this set is this set came out several years ago. It's still on toy shelves, particularly Toymate, which is where I saw it. I got this for quite a big discount. I think originally the retail price was about 70 to 80 Australian dollars for 9 characters. I purchased it for $37, which they were on clearance. They were trying to get rid of it. If we do some quick maths, the full retail price of all these characters, assuming these count as normal, small engines, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'd have 8 small characters plus 1 large character. Whoops. So you're looking at about $60 altogether. I don't think this is pretty much a freebie. So, you know, to buy all these separately, you'd be looking at about $60. So I think the problem was they were selling it for more than you would pay for these engines separately. And I think then when they readjusted it down to 30, then you're starting to pay, or 37, I should say, you're starting to pay about $4 for each character, which is then cheaper than it would be if you bought all of them. Noting, of course, that Hero is actually a larger character, so you're getting him for quite a good discount. But for me, I already had these characters, so really I'm paying, you know, about $5 each for these, which I think is okay. Given that they are exclusive engines. So, yeah, it's a funny set. I think it's going to be one of those sets which stands as a a record in time of the weirdness that was All Engines Go, and really, I think, personified what All Engines Go was doing. And I do think that Mattel, perhaps, I never like to give them credit for anything because they often make baffling decisions, and they're still making baffling decisions even now. But I think All Engines Go realized that it was too weird, and that's reflected on the fact that the characters like this kind of didn't really get introduced, and instead we got legacy characters coming back into the show, and we got very normal play sets for the most part after that first wave of sets where we had, you know, the loop set and the race set. A lot of the other play sets since then were very, very ordinary in terms of just a loop of track and a train. So yeah, interesting little items. Let me know what your comments down below, and if you picked this set up or if you saw it shelf warming in your area like I'm seeing it now. But this is definitely the kind of set which I think you chuck under your bed. It's going to be a keeper, because in 10 years time it's going to be a relic of a bygone era, hopefully, because we are back in a Thomas Renaissance and everything is fantastic. So, you know, hopefully this will be an ugly duckling that gets with more value with time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. So we've got time for all the 6 Extreme Trains.